Carrots.
What up? What up, football fans all over the world? It's your boy Mac the Giants fan here with my guy, that super dope co-host, and Costas. Y'all know what time it is, man. It's time for the final time in 2025 for that real deal NFC East round up. Punch that intro. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Real Deal NFC East Roundup. I am Mac the Giants fan here with my guy, the super dope co-host Adam Costas. Man, how you feeling as we ending up 2025, getting ready for 2026, man?
Well, I mean, I feel great after that intro. I mean, how could you not? With that you held that, that last note that you held with the Real Deal NFC East Roundup. It was if you're not fired up for this show, I don't know what to tell you. But unfortunately, for me, my team is complete garbage and a dumpster fire. So while I'm happy that, the year is ending and new beginnings are happening, my team is dragging me through another lost year in my football life.
And I know exactly how you feel, man. It's just it's been a mess, obviously, for as being a New York Giants fan. Hard to come out here and continue to make content week in, week out, man, about this team. It's just been terrible. But look, I think it's going to be a fun off season. I think it's going to be a lot of good content to be made, and I'm going to try to jump on some of that, man. And this off season, man, it's going to be some fun stuff to talk about. We'll be getting into all of that, man. I'm going to save some of that because we're going to have plenty of that to talk about next couple upcoming weeks, man. A lot of coaching drama, a lot of free agency stuff, just drafting stuff. I mean, a lot everything. I mean, storylines out the ass about the New York Giants. But let's get into it, man. Let's get right with it, man. NFC East. It's been a rough year for the NFC East, man, and Eagles will be the only team playing into January, well, a little deeper into January. Everybody's playing the last week. Technically, it will be January, but still, as far as playing a little playoff football, only the Eagles is coming out of the division this year. But on Christmas Day, they had the Cowboys. We had the Commanders play a game on Christmas Day. Don't let the final score really fool you. I think the Dallas Cowboys kind of dominated this game a little bit more, it seemed like, than the final score might indicate. I mean, the second half, they took the foot off the gas a little bit, but I think they really kind of had things under control, man. But what's your thoughts, Adam?
Well, I kind of agree with you. I think it was a dominating performance. Well, not domination, but a very top-heavy performance by the Cowboys. I do believe they were in control most of the game, and the score came late, obviously, to close the gap. But I don't think there was any fear of them losing. losing this game to the Commanders. What's up, Alex? How you doing? Happy New Year. So, I mean, the Cowboys did what the Cowboys did. Looked good offensively. They took advantage of a team that has been much maligned with injuries, not only at the running back position, but at the quarterback position and just all around. And it's sad because, if you're a Commander fan, you had such a promising outlook to your season, and it's really come crashing and burning the last couple of weeks. But the good news is that you'll be in the top 10 again for a draft pick. So maybe you can fix your defense, which I think their defense is what's needed. You need a pass rusher, another weapon on that side of the ball, and maybe also draft a playmaker at the running back position and another consistent receiver. You got a lot of holes out there. This team does, and their expectations fell short. And we'll see if they can bounce back this offseason. But it's been a tough road for the Commanders.
Absolutely agree, man. I mean, this is a team, like you said, it came in with high expectations, but you can't foresee a lot of the things that happened. I mean, we kind of knew the defense was going to be a bit of an issue, I think, but offensively, even with Jaden Daniels, I think that with the injuries, I mean, he missed so much time this year, and now just finally just went on ahead to shut him down for the year. I mean, I think that really played a big part into a lot of their issues, honestly. Just never really being able to get that continuity built up on that side of the football as well. And it was a struggle, man. Terry McLaurin down for a good chunk of the season as well. That's your two biggest weapons on the offense, and your quarterback and your top wide receiver right there. I mean, it's hard to do much of anything. And then, just you got a average running back group back there. I mean, guys would have benefited a lot more from having a guy like Jaden Daniels back there to take some of that pressure off. I mean, but at the end of the day, I think this team really needs to, as they get ready to head into the offseason as well, like a lot of other teams around this league, they need to really figure out, I think, something on that defensive side of the football. I think that's the biggest issue concerning the team. They just can't stop anybody. I mean, it's just nothing. They can't stop. They just have not have an ability to get the job done on that side of the football, and it's just more or less a lack of talent on that side of the ball. I think it's just that's what it comes down to. I guess a lot of the guys they relying on are the older, little more aged guys, a little more seasoned on them. Not that Bobby Wagner, they still got some game in them, but it ain't that same game. You know what I mean? It's definitely not that same game no more. And like the Von Millers of the world, Von Miller actually put on a couple of nice games the last few weeks. Honestly, actually, kind of wait some of his biggest moments of the season. Actually, but still, too little, too late from that in that regard. So I just think this is just a team, man, that I think they're still a well-coached football team, and I think they just had a lot of things go against them this season. Not to be making excuses up, but it's a reality. You got to also call a spade a spade. They had a lot of bad luck this season. I mean, it's just what it is. And schedule was a little bit tougher than it was a year ago, and that definitely didn't help their cause either. So I think Dan Quinn will get this team kind of turned back around. I think he has the ability to do it, and I think they still just locker room believes in Dan Quinn as the leader, and I think they'll be able to figure some things out. But this game here on Christmas Day, to me, I think Dallas for the most part did definitely control most of this game. Dak Prescott, he's cooking. I think in a normal season, Dak Prescott would definitely be in the MVP conversation as well. But unfortunately, I guess guys get punished for the success of their teams as well. I guess that goes into the equation, as so to speak, when it comes to even some of these individual honors. I mean, Dak Prescott, 19 of 37, 307 yards, couple of touchdowns on the day, man, and spread the ball around beautifully. I mean, just everybody got a little taste of the action in this game for the Dallas Cowboys as far as their receivers and whatnot go, man. So Malik Davis, another star, is born here. I mean, Javonte Williams, who put together a very big year for the Cowboys, over 1,000 yards, got banged up in this game. Malik Davis stepped in and went over 100 yards on the ground against this, porous Washington Commander defense. So, I think all in all, this game here, this Cowboys, they're always. I feel like they always find a way to underachieve, but it's just not. They I don't know. I can't put my finger on it when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, man. Like what their problem is, what the issue is, what the disconnect is, because they have a talented roster, as you see, what they're capable of doing. I mean, they have some issues defensively, but I think there are things that can be cleaned up over there, and I just don't know. I don't know. I just can't figure out why this team just seems to can't really seem to put it all together and be a little more competitive than what they are at this point right now. But I think Brian Schottenheimer, as we were talking before we got on, Brian Schottenheimer doing a really good job. You know what I mean? He's really, I feel like all things considered, I think a lot of people were kind of down on the Cowboys this season coming into the year, thinking they were going to just automatically write them off. And they still went out there and for the most part were fairly competitive for most of the way, had their ups and downs, like what we tend to see with the Dallas Cowboys. So, I don't know. It's just hard to put a finger on it, but they'll be a fun team to be looking a little bit into during the off season as well, kind of seeing what they got going on, what they got in their bag of tricks for the off season to retool for the following years for the upcoming 2026 season. But
their off season is really going to be about getting Jaden Daniels healthy, because I think their offensive line is pretty decent. They got Jeremy Tunsil and really fixing their defense, and keeping guys like Luvu, and it's going to be tough. I mean, thankfully, they may end up in the fourth place, so they may have a fourth place schedule, but they'll at least, at worst, be in the third place. So what does that mean? They might be able to bounce back against lesser teams. So who knows where this will lead them? But I think this is a huge offseason for them. Even though last offseason they spent a ton of money, how many of these players are they going to keep? Remember, they're the oldest team in the NFL right now, roster-wise, right? So will you keep a lot of these guys? How will you navigate this offseason? It's going to mean a lot. Do you bring in another young quarterback in here, not because Jaden Daniels is bad, but because Marcus Mariota and guys like that, you're starting to see that your season could go awry. You need to bring in backup plans and things like that. You really need to build an overall plan, right? And see if Deebo Samuel's part of that. I would bring in a running back. I don't know if you're going to want to draft one in the top 10, but that's a guy I would want to think about.
What's up, Lou Rig? Happy holidays.
Happy New Year. So I just think that the Commanders have a lot to work on. The Cowboys have a lot to work on, but I think the Cowboys are further ahead. If the Cowboys, I know momentum doesn't matter into next season, but these players will be here, right? And I think they believe in Schottenheimer's message. So I got to give kudos to Brian Schottenheimer. If he ends up 8-8, he did an admirable job where we thought this team would have been probably horrible, right? They got rid of Micah Parsons. They had no defense. They all this drama that happened before the season started. You would not think the Cowboys would be in the position that they're in, right? So you got to give credit to where that's due. On the flip side, Dan Quinn, I don't think has lost his coaching ability. I don't think Cliff Kingsbury has fallen off a cliff that much. I do believe they had an older team and they were hit with injuries. Again, like you make no excuse, but I do think this offseason is very important and how they navigate this. Remember, they don't have a lot of draft picks, right? Because they traded for guys to bring them in. So how are you going to maximize your dollars? Who are you going to move in, bring in, not bring out? What do you think your window is closed now? Like it's going to be interesting to see where they go from here. I think they should go defense. Like if you're in the top 5, top 6, Arvell Reese, linebacker, the safety out of Ohio State, I think his name is Caleb Downs. If I'm not mistaken, someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I think he goes to Ohio State. But I would look for that to kind of shore up your defense. And like you said, maybe a pass rusher. Because even though Von Miller, who's sneaky, he was having a sneaky good season, let's be real. At 35 or whatever he is, he can't be relied upon. So, yeah, Caleb Downs, he plays for Ohio State. He's a safety. I wouldn't be surprised if they can land him or another guy, Sonny Styles, a couple of those Ohio State defenders who you're going to be on display this weekend in the college playoffs. If they are not tonight, they're obviously going to be throughout this weekend. You'll be able to see some of these players. So look for that. I think for them, and I know I'm rambling on, but I think for them, a game at the end of the year matters because you're the coach next year, right? And if they want to evaluate players and do all that stuff, I can see them doing that, right? Like coaching staffs that are going to be here, while I don't agree with it, they're the only, to me, coaching staffs that can say, hey, don't play your starters. Don't do that. Because you're going to be here. So if they were out and say, I want to get a look at, Bill in the starting lineup and get 20 carries to see how he does, that's more understandable than another team without a coaching staff doing it. So I know I'm on a rambling, but I'll stop now and go on, Mac. Take the show over.
It's just like you said, these are teams with with a lot of work to do, obviously. So, and this all season, and I think, like I said, I'm curious to see which direction they go because I feel like, especially how they attack free agency when we get to that first free agency period, I want to see how they. I'm curious to see how Washington will attack that because I think they have so many holes on the defensive side of football that I think we're going to see a lot of their focus be put there. As far as, like you said, the evaluating guys, that's what it's all about. They've been doing a little bit of that. I can't remember who he was. I think it was a linebacker or something. But they were kind of just a guy that he hasn't played much throughout the year, but a guy that I guess they saw a little potential from and just wanted to kind of get a look at him. I can't remember what his name was. I think it was on Washington, if I'm not mistaken. The guy out there, he's making some plays, man. So it's that's what it is about this time of the year with some of these bad teams, like you said, and coaching staffs that know they're going to be around. You can take that opportunity to truly do some things like that.
But see, like, before we move on, their draft picks are 1, 3, a 5th, a 6th, and a 7th round pick, right? So they don't have too many middle round picks because they traded the 4th round pick to Houston and their 2nd round pick to Houston. So they really got to figure out what guys on the roster they can trade and move on from, and then when they do make that trade, because I think they have a lot of money still, what key free agents, young acquisition guys you're going to bring in, like a Frank Louvu, who you brought in, who are going to be a part of this team for a while. I know they tried to trade for Lattimore and things like that, but they're going to really need to really revamp, like you said, the defense. Offensively, I don't think they need much, but with limited draft capital, because you already gave up 2 of your picks, you're going to want to figure out, you're going to want to nail this 1st round pick, and then you're going to want to figure out who you might want to get rid of to acquire more picks. Because I think that's what the Commanders need, is they need more depth on that defense, and that defense just needs to be better. I think that's their Achilles heel. We spoke about it at the beginning of the year. What would derail their season would be 2 things. Jaden Daniels not playing, and check that box, and the defense not being able to handle Jaden Daniels not playing, check that box. So they got to be able to figure that out.
Absolutely. And I was just doing the math, running it up in my head. I think the New York Giants are going to be safely in 4th place. I think there's no way, nothing that can happen for the Giants to leapfrog the Commanders, because the Commanders swept the New York Giants this season. So even if you finish with the same record, if the Commanders lose to the Eagles and Giants beat the Cowboys, I just don't think it's going to matter, because the head-to-head battles, I think that's the first tiebreaker, if I'm not mistaken. And Commanders 2-0 against the New York Giants this season. That's terrible. Four wins on the year, 2 of them against the New York Giants. Let that sink in, New York Giant Nation.
Terrible.
Let that sink in, New York Giant Nation. But you got anything else on the Commanders Cowboys for right now, or you want to jump to quite the compelling football game in the late window on Sunday afternoon? Philadelphia was one of the Buffalo, man. Messy, nasty weather, cold, rainy, sleety, whatever was going on up in there. And the Philadelphia Eagles, man, got the job done. 13-12. A little controversy in this one. A couple of calls that raised a couple of people's eyebrows. One a really huge one. But nonetheless, it is what it is. The Eagles get the W, 13-12. What's your thoughts on the Champs' performance in this game, and especially what were your thoughts on the Champs' defensive performance in this game, because it was quite dominant?
Well, you know me. I already knew their defense could play that well. And when you don't have a run game, the Bills do have somewhat of a run game, but when you can stop the run and you don't have the receivers that are as dynamic as they were, for the Buffalo Bills, no one's really buying into Keon Coleman and those guys, right? You can really put the clamps down. I think that's what happened. They stopped James Cook from running all over the place. They were able to put pressure on Josh Allen. They were able to make him flustered, and they just had a dominating performance. And I think they're starting to come together. And I thought this was a Super Bowl preview. I'm like, could we be seeing a team? And I'm always one of those guys who I like to see these late games against these teams that are potentially in the playoff hunt, because will this game be a game that we look back on and say, oh my God, they played the Super Bowl champs and look what happened? I mean, it happened with the Giants and Patriots, right? No one believed the Giants would meet the Patriots in the Super Bowl that year. That they were underdogs the entire way through. Maybe minus the Atlanta game, but every game after that, they definitely were, the underdog. So it was interesting to see that game and what ended up springboarding them on their playoff run. So for the Eagles and Bills, kind of have similar parallels. There's no big bad wolf anymore in the AFC, right? There's no Patrick Mahomes. There's no Kansas City. The AFC is now wide open, regardless of how you want to look at it. So the Bills had an opportunity to really. I feel it was a bigger game for the Bills than than the Eagles, because I think the Eagles are who they are. Then losing to the Bills is not going to do anything in their psyche. But Buffalo, this is a game that I really wanted to see Buffalo kind of take Philadelphia to task, and they didn't. They were able to obviously get the game within 2 points, and they blew it. I probably would kick the field goal because the Eagles' offense wasn't doing anything after that point. So you might have had a chance to win, but I know the Eagles played championship caliber defense, and if they play defense like that and get just enough offense, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. Now, I want to see them against a team like the Rams, maybe, or Seattle. If that team can somehow find a way to score, those are also big time defenses that you saw the Buffalo Bills, who've not. Let's talk about it. Buffalo hasn't the greatest defense in the world, right? Buffalo has not totally shut down opponents the way they, helped shut down the Eagles this week. So I don't know if it was an anomaly with the ineptitude of the Eagles or if the Buffalo Bills really found their defense. But it was a good test on both sides, and I wouldn't be surprised this is the matchup we see in February.
Absolutely, man. I mean, it's the Eagles team, however you feel about them offensively and how ugly it always looks offensively for them. It's something that's without a shadow of a doubt that we cannot deny is that is a championship level defense. Let's talk about it. Up front, you have absolutely one of the premier, absolute best interior defensive linemen in the game. In the game in Jalen Carter. I mean, an absolute game record when he is on the field, you know the difference. You see the impact that he has when he's on the field. You see how it impacts the Eagle defense when he is not on the field. It's night and day. This guy is an absolute one of the premier defensive players in the NFL. And if he can just control, what goes on in his mind sometimes and not make some of the, poor choices he makes occasionally, this young man, he's just going to be an unstoppable force for many, many years to come. But then let's get to the back end of this fucking defense. And then you got players like Cooper DeJean, who was just a special talent back there in the secondary, a guy that can do it all. I mean, he'll stick his nose in there and make the big hits. He plays the ball very well, create the turnovers. It's magical to watch with some of these guys, the talent they have back there. And then you got young Kenyon Mitchell at the corner. And the fact that you go back and think in the 2024 draft that Howie Roseman was able to draft Kenyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Yes, the entire league allowed that to happen. Allowed Howie Roseman to be able to acquire two players of that caliber in the first and second round of that draft. And it just mind blows me why people, when you question why the Eagles are so good and why they've been able to maintain this level for so long, is because Howie Roseman, man. Like I said, I'm gonna keep saying it again, because being a Giants fan and having an idiot like Joe Shane as the GM, and then you watch within the same division a guy like Howie Roseman just be able to seem to make all the right moves all the time. I mean, and even in the middle of his defense, you get a guy like Zach Bond a year ago from New Orleans who was basically written off in New Orleans. I mean, never got really much of a chance. And you bring him here, he's an all-pro linebacker now for the Philadelphia Eagles. These are the things that I mean. Like when you have that championship culture, when you have that winning culture instilled in your building, the sky can be the limit. When you have the right personnel and you're pulling all the right strings, man, it's the Eagles team, man. Like I said, even though it's not necessarily all that fun to look at watching them play on Sundays. Just offensively, I just still can't understand what the hell they're ever doing. Just watching them play defense, man, is always special, man. It's always enjoyable as a fan, because these guys, they just get it done, man. They get after it. I mean, they're just loaded on that side of the football. They're loaded on the offensive side of the football too. So God help me if the light bulb would ever go on for the offensive side for them on offense. I mean, they'd be unstoppable in my opinion, man. And I I don't know what to expect from them in the postseason because at some point you do have to have enough. You do have to be able to score points, and I don't know what to really expect. But I know this defense can play with absolutely anybody, and they really have some special pieces, man. And I wish I could talk like this about my New York Giants, but here we are having to talk like this about the Philadelphia fucking Eagles because that's what it is.
So, I mean, let's look at that. This team is battle tested. They know what it takes. So I don't know. I agree with you. I don't know what's going to happen in the playoffs, but this team's been to the playoffs many times. They know how to turn it up and what they need to do. And if they are the team that I think they are, they're going to host a playoff game, whether that's Seattle, the 49ers, the Rams, whomever that may be coming into play. Have to live up to that standard of, hey, this is the defending champ. And the Eagles are playing with house money, right? Because they're in their backyard, they know what they're doing. Everybody has, whether or not we want to believe it, it has to go through Philadelphia. Until Philadelphia is knocked out, they are the champs until proven otherwise, right? So that adds a lot of pressure, and we'll see how they do. They don't have to, if their defense plays the way it did on Sunday, they're not going to need to worry about having to score a lot of points. They're just going to have to worry about scoring just enough, right? If they can. Now, again, that's a tall order with the teams that we're talking about here, the 49ers, the Seattle Seahawks of the world, even the Bears have beaten them, right? So, if they play, we'll see. Is this an anomaly with the AFC? That's what I'm saying. Like, they haven't fared well against NFC teams. So if they show up like they did against other teams and they can keep the score low, I think the Eagles have a chance. If it's a barn burner, that's where you worry about the Eagles' offense. The only time is if it's a back and forth kind of game. But if it's a low scoring game, it's going to favor the Eagles. I just feel like championship pedigree. I don't want to overlook them because once we overlook them, say, they're in the Super Bowl, for the second time in back-to-back years. So.
Yeah, I mean, and technically on Sunday coming up, the Eagles, they playing Commanders on Sunday. Eagles have something to still play for in this football game. They can actually move up to number 2 seed. So that is something for them to play for. So they're not going to be just going through the motions on Sunday against the Commanders. They're probably going to want to go out there and get after it just for that little bit. Not that it matters that much, 2, 3 seed either way. But I mean, it depends maybe which direction they want to go. Because you get the 2 seed, you're likely to be playing the Packers. You get the 3, or you will be playing the Packers. You get the 2 seed, and if you get the 3 seed, that makes a difference between playing the Packers or playing the Rams, perhaps, or the Bears. So,
right. Well, it's interesting that you say that because they said that they sat down Hurts, right? So, this gets back to a point that I was making before. At what point does a team say I don't need to play? Because if the Eagles decide I don't care if we're 2 or 3, we're not getting the first round bye, it doesn't matter to me. I can't drop any lower than 4. Then maybe they'll concede and say, you know what, let's get some young guys and rest their players. It would make sense for me in that regard, right? However, if you are playing for something, why not just play the game out? Why not play for the 2nd seed? And if things aren't going your way, the Commanders are having a blowout, your team is just not focused enough, pull them. I'm tired of these teams not playing their players because of whatever reason, and then I have to pay full price for that ticket going into the game, right? You're not charging me anything less to see the Eagles play on Sunday, are you? No. Right? Regardless of how I paid. So that's why I'm like, just let everybody play. Plus fantasy football and shit. Like, unless you're a team like the Eagles who don't have a first round bye and are going to the playoffs, every team should play. That's just me. Every team should try to end up with the best record that you want. Minus, I guess the top 3 teams because they need a quarterback, right? Like the Raiders, we already know what the Raiders are doing. We know that they're tanking. I get it. We understand it. But I still want to see them try. And, the Jets are going to try. They're not going to be very good. That's better than just lying down. And I would be mad if I'm a consumer going to this game, I mean, let's look at the Denver game, right? Denver, obviously, Kansas City's obviously not going to be there. I'm going there for Denver to support my team and see if they can win that game or not the Denver game, the Raider game. I'm going there to support my team and see this young quarterback and send my team off, right? I understand that they have some backup playing and they're playing the Raiders, right? But I just feel like if I were paying and Mahomes was there, I would want to see Mahomes. I'd want to see him beat the Raiders, right? I'm not going there to see, the backup quarterback for nothing. So it just, play your guys is what I'm saying. God dang it. Just play them. And that's all. I'm off my soapbox. Sorry.
No, that's all good, man. That's all good. But yeah, it's just, I mean, you had an example of that a couple of years ago, actually, with the Philadelphia Eagles that went into the last game against the Giants, as a matter of fact. The Eagles still had something to play for. So the first half, they came out with their guys, and for whatever, it was weird as it was, the Giants kicked their ass in the first half of that game. And the Eagles finally just said they waved the white flag and said, all right, fuck it. It's not meant to be today. And they just, pulled their guys for the second half of that football game. But I agree with you, man. Just go out there and play your guys, man. If it's like, look, scare money don't get no money, man. So it's like, look, if you're out there worrying about guys getting hurt and thinking that you can't go out there with that fear, man. I mean, it's football. It's a rough game. People get hurt all the time, man, and you just can't let that. If you guys are healthy, let them play, man. I'm with you, Adam, on that 1,000%, man. Like you said, they charge us no less, and when we pay that hard-earned money to go to those games, we're not going to those games to see third stringers and fourth stringers that we don't know. We want to see guys that we got their jerseys on. We want to see that. That's what we want to go out there and see. That's what we pay the money for. So
because it's the regular season. If I understand when I go to the preseason to see the fucking fourth string quarterback, I get that.
Oh, yeah. That's understood.
In the regular season, 17 games, you're charging me, an arm and a leg for these PSL.
I'm busy right now. Oh shit! Sorry about that,
Adam. I want to see my guys, regardless of how long, regardless of the season's bad. You think I, want to go, especially if, for the Giants, you don't care about the draft pick, fine. They can go out there. This season I care because Mike Kafka sucks. But if we had our coach and we were having a bad year, I'd want the guys to go out there and play. Not because of next year. I don't believe in that bullshit about, they need to play for next year. I believe these guys have pride. And if any of you played football in your life, your last game matters. You never know when you're going to play that next game, right? So for me, I want to go out there. If I'm Dak Prescott, I want to lead the league in passing. I don't want to have somebody in my career down the road go, well, he never led the league in passing, and no one's going to remember that Brian Schottenheimer sat his ass against the Giants in 2026. They're going to say, well, he didn't lead the league in passing, this bum. Why should he go to the Hall of Fame? Well, guess what? Now he leads the league in passing. He'll have 2026 as a catalyst to maybe push his name over the ballot list for the Hall of Fame. You know what I'm saying? These things matter to these players. Right. And I'm tired of hearing about, we're getting into the Giants. Oh, the Giants have nothing, the Cowboys have nothing to play for. Well, what do the Giants have to play for? They're 4-13, 3-13, whatever. Fucking
3-13, bro. 3.
Whatever disgusting record we are, we have to go out and play our guys. Like what's any different? No. The point I'm trying to make is 17 regular season games. I'm tired of sitting guys unless you're thoroughly banged up or you have some type of ailment that's come up during the, you pulled a hamstring or something like that. Fine. You want to give a young guy a chance because your hamstring's pulled? Fine, I get it. But if you're fucking healthy and you practice, get your ass out there because I want to see it. I get a better measure of my team when I see full strength versus full strength as opposed to, well, we beat the Cowboys last year. Hooray. Guess what? I beat a bunch of second string guys who didn't give a shit out there. My first stringer should win. I don't want to see that, right? I want to see strength on strength, Keenan Williams versus my offensive line to see, oh my God, who do we got here? And if they get injured, they were going to get injured regardless, right? It doesn't matter if we play week 1 or week 17.
Absolutely. But anything else on the chance for right now? Or you get back to them in a little bit.
We'll talk about. We have plenty of time to talk about them as they're going to the playoffs. So.
Yeah, they'll be the only one we'll be talking about in a couple of weeks anyway. which is going to suck. But here's what we sign up for. But let's get out to Vegas Sunday afternoon. New York Giants, Las Vegas Raiders. The game I dubbed the Stinker Bowl. A lot of people had a lot of different random names for it, toilet bowls with all kinds of, whatever, the loser bowl, everything you can think of. And the New York Giants did come out on top in this one. You know how I don't really know how I really feel. It was one of the weirdest feelings watching the Giants game that I can say I've experienced myself personally. Because I'm never going to actively root for them to lose, but at the end of the day, I was just like, yeah, we don't need that touchdown right now. I had that kind of attitude watching the game. Any thoughts? What's your thoughts on this one?
I kind of had the same thing, right? I'm like, do I really root for a win here? Like, what do we do? And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, the Raiders are coming back, and then Deontay Banks kind of ends that with a 97-yard touchdown. I'm like, great. Well, at least I'm glad that we drafted him to be a kick returner. Like, give me a break. But you know what's going to happen, right? Is they're going to win these last two games, and they're going to be like, woo, yay, look, Mike Kafka, he breaks through. We're going to make him the coach next year. You know what I mean? The reason, do you bet your ass is on the table? You bet your ass it's going to be on the table, man. They're going to see him. He's going to be like, you think about this, all right? You beat the Cowboys. We haven't beaten a division opponent since the Eagle game. Now you're going to tell me that Mike Kafka beats the fucking Cowboys? You don't think that's going to – John Mara's going to be like, you wait, we have our coach. Don't let him go out there. Like, I'm afraid of anything with this Giant team. Brett McAdoo, they didn't want to leave the building. He comes out with a fucking suit that's 10 times too bigger than him. And then you already knew right there that was a bad hire. But they went on with it anyways because they got nervous because he was going to be an Eagles coach. So I don't want to hear this bullshit about, Kafka. Well, I'm afraid we have to hire him. And then next thing you know, we're back in the same shit show here. We'll get into the coaching search in a minute. But good for Jackson Dart, really, to bounce back in the game. He's the only guy I'm really rooting for to do well. I thought he played a better game in terms of how he ran and how he protected himself. I didn't see him as reckless as he's been. Yes, did he run for a touchdown? Obviously, when you become a runner and you're at the goal line, you want him to just drop down. No, he's going to go in and score. Points are hard to come by in the NFL. But there was a couple of times where he ran and he kind of just, took the yardage that was given to him. So I think the maturation process is really happening with this kid. I want to address one thing. People, stop talking about Mendoza as the quarterback of this team, okay? I don't want to hear about Freddie Mendoza anymore. I don't want to hear that Jackson Dart is Daniel Jones anymore. I was on a space this morning and some guy kept telling me that Jackson Dart was a Daniel Jones 2.0, and it is far from it. What Jackson Dart has done with such a little amount of talent, Wan'Dale Robinson getting force-fed the ball to get 1,000 yards. Good for you, Wan'Dale Robinson. Now, don't let the door hit you on the way out because I ain't paying you $15 million a year. You best believe that. Okay, for a guy whose numbers are going to go down when we fucking inflate that receiver room with a draft pick and probably some other random free agency pick. Yeah, okay, Wan'Dale. But anyways, you can't tell me that I don't hear this. I went 6 years. I'm sorry, Wan'Dale. I'll never like you no matter what. I just can't. Well, I see George Pickens on the Cowboys doing what he's doing for the last and how good he's been the last couple of years. I look at you and I'm like, wait, I get 1,000 yards a season and you're a second round pick. George Pickens has touched that number almost twice. Anyways, back to what I'm saying. Jackson Dart, leave the kid alone. I think he just needs to refine his pocket passing this offseason, and let's give him that offseason. Let's give him that chance to develop. Let's see what he does this year. Does he get a quarterback's coach? Does he fix his footwork? Is he going to get a little stronger? Because remember, Daniel Jones from year 1 to year 2, what were they saying? Oh, look how strong he got. Look at how much stronger he looks. Blah, blah, blah. Same thing they're going to say next year when Jackson Dart comes in. And that's why when we get into the head coaching things that we talk about, I want to ask certain questions that I asked before, and I want to get Mac's take. But let's stop with the Mendoza thing.
Please stop with that, because it's just so annoying to me that Jackson Dart. It's been a rough last couple of weeks prior to this past game on Sunday, this past Sunday against the Raiders, in which he look like the Jackson Dart that we all fell in love with earlier in the year. But let's just face it, man. He's proven that he can play at this level in the NFL. It's proven. He's shown we've seen what this guy can do to the point where opposing defenses are legitimately even game plan for Jackson Dart, obviously, because who else you need a game plan for in the New York Giants for real. So like this is where it is. Like, and then but people want to already throw him out like the trash. It was Daniel Jones got 6 years, Jackson Dart only gets 1. Jackson Dart's rookie season has been better than Daniel Jones' rookie season, but he only gets 1, and Jones got 6. Or we want to throw him out for Fernando Mendoza, who might come in and be a fucking bust? We don't fucking know that. You don't know that, but what you do know is Jackson Dart can play football in the NFL. You know that. You do know that because there's proven tape and film that proves that Jackson Dart can play football at this level. Mendoza, as of right now, we know is really, really good in the Big Ten. This ain't the Big Ten. This is the NFL. Why do that? You have so many other issues that need to be addressed on this team. You find a good young quarterback and you want to throw him out like garbage and start all over again. Why? You finally got a guy that's a player. Something you said, Adam, that I like is the fact that Jackson Dart is a hard-working young man. Look, I didn't like the pick of Jackson Dart back in April. He convinced me. He turned me into a believer by me watching the way this kid works, the way he develops, the way he takes the coaching. Like you just said, Adam, even if you watch this game, he was times when he was running and scrambling, he protected himself so much more than what we've seen, as if, okay, the light bulb's on. He's starting to understand. You got to preserve yourself a little bit. You can't take those big hits all the time unnecessarily. You take the yards that are there, you get the hell down and protect yourself. Like, that's what it's all about, man. And the fact that we're watching him, like like you said, mature just week to week like that. It was good to see them open the playbook back up for him on Sunday. Like I said, why would you not want to see what this kid can do with legitimate weapons? Like, I'm not quite like you. I know I understand what Wan'Dale Robinson is, but I like him a little bit more than you. I think he can still be a contributing member to the receiving core. So I agree. He's not a guy ideally you want to be your number 2 guy or something right now. In our case, our number 1 guy. But I mean, I can appreciate what he brings to the table from that in the regard of he did genuinely get better from a season ago to this year, where he had around the same amount of catches as he has right now with far less yards because of how he was being utilized a year ago. So I mean, it's exactly. So to me, he's the guy that is what he is. I think he's always going to be. He can be a solid little shifty little slot guy for you, and I'm okay with that with him. I mean, just you get another big target on the outside, opposite of Malik Neighbors, man, and I think this offense can cook. I mean, look, you can see in this game, Jackson Dart in this game, clearly, the only receiver on the field he trusted was Wan'Dale Robinson. Clearly, I mean, it was not an equal target share by no means in this football game at all. I mean, Wan'Dale Robinson was targeted 14 times. 14 times. The next highest targeted receiver in this game was Devin Singletary with 4 targets. Like, so clearly there's only trust in one. And it looks like he's lost all faith in Darius Slayton, who only had 3 targets on the day and actually caught 2 of them. Surprised. But it's to me, it's just I don't understand that this whole Mendoza Jackson Dart thing. I can't understand how people want to throw this kid out like garbage and bring in and draft a guy that, for all we know, could be a damn bust. I mean, it just is. I'm not saying he is. He has the tools. It looks good. It looks like he's going to be a good, sharp prospect. But they already assume that, his ceiling is so much higher than Jackson Dart. He's going to be way better than Jackson Dart. Are you kidding me? We don't know that. Like I said, and Jackson Dart is going to be better. Because he's the kind of guy that's going to make it a point to be better next season, getting into another full off season, be able to get some work in with his guys. Look, man. Just kill it with that Mendoza talk, man. I don't want to hear it. I'm going to be talking a lot more about it, but
to be frank, if we were to bring in a coach and the guy doesn't like Dart for some reason, okay, fine. But I don't think Dart's put enough on tape to be like Will Levis, where you're like, oh my God, I'm going to vomit on myself because this guy can't throw a pass, right? So, I do believe that he's got the goods. I just think right now, I mean, think about this, okay? The kid came in, nobody believed in him, right? Not even enough to draft him in the top 3. He was 25th pick overall because the guy didn't trade up and get him because they all thought he was a second-round pick because of all the flaws that were talked about, right? Now, Mendoza might be a good prospect, but you don't need to cut what is that saying? Cut your nose to spite your face because you want to now get Mendoza here. This guy has proven to you that he can play in the NFL. He's done everything that you've asked him to do and more. Last week, that touchdown run was him dropping back, looking, surveying the field, realizing that there's a fucking alley the size of the Grand Canyon. So he took the yards and ran for a touchdown. That's a smart play, right? And so for me, unless the coach comes in and this guy was playing horribly, that's where I can see them going with Mendoza. But I don't think he's playing horribly enough where even if you were at the top 10, you should be worried about that. You should be excited if you're a Giant fan to be in the top 1 or 2 to trade out for the quarterback needy teams because this is not on your wish list this year. Because this is not a guy that you need to worry about, right? And I do believe we've seen a lot about him. He's an elevator, right? You got to look at what he's playing with right now. He's got a banged up offensive line. He's got 2 running backs who would not be starters anywhere else in the league except for us, right? Like, I like Tyrone Tracy, but he's clearly a third down back. That's what he is. He's going to be a great third down back. Devin Singletary is what he is. He's a guy that is a substitute back, right? Cam Scatterboo is a good 1, maybe 1A, back, but they need some juice back there. They're going to have 3 linemen right now that are probably going to be under contract, if you think about it, right? If you think about it, we went through this. I went through this with somebody on the phone this morning. I said, Runyon is hit or miss. You don't know if he's going to be there. JMS is your center, right? You got Andrew Thomas signed, and then you have Marcus Membo. Everybody else is expendable or might not be here, right? For some reason. You can't guarantee that Greg Van Roten is going to be here. Right, he's 34 years old, so you're probably going to check him off. You can't think that Runyon's going to be here because you can probably upgrade him. So we're talking, and then the backups, Uzudu, do you trust him? Neal can't even make it on the fucking field. Like, what are we talking about? We have an overhaul of things that we need to look at, and this team should be worried about getting the highest draft pick possible to possibly trade out of that pick to acquire more picks because we have so many holes going forward. The outside linebacker position, we have nobody. We're bereft of talent there. And I just think that we're sitting here trying to worry about the quarterback being replaced when we have all these other holes and needs throughout this team. And then, by the way, with a new regime coming in, this team's going to be gutted. There aren't going to be guys that are going to be here. Guys are going to get cut for cap reasons, for schematic reasons, just for overall performance reasons, right? Because they suck, or we can't afford to keep you, or blah, 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 right? Whatever fucking rules that they make. Maybe they bring in a coach who doesn't like James Hudson and cuts him, or doesn't like a certain player, right? So this is why we shouldn't be worried about Jackson Dart, all right? What we should be excited about is what year 2 is going to bring and what coach is going to be here. And with that being said, I don't really care if they win or lose this game, but I have to ask this question, Mac. If I'm a coach, are you more excited for a team to come in with a quarterback and a top 3 pick or a quarterback and a top 7 pick? Like, I know we're talking about numbers here, right? But think about that. Is that something that's going to attract some candidates here?
I mean, look, obviously the top 3 pick is more ideal for me, just for obvious reasons, man. Like, just gives you something more value to potentially build upon. You know what I mean? Even if you decide to use that pick, you get a top 3 pick. You know what I mean? So it's just, to me, that's how I look at it, and I feel like right now they could go either way with this New York Giant team, man. This team, like I said, it really just, it's been bothering me, this quarterback talk. It's just been bothering me so much because it's like you said, I look at our secondary, which is absolute shit. I look at our linebacker situation, which I'm just not sold on it. I don't know what we're going to get out of Micah McFadden when he returns next season. It's just so much. It's just so much. I mean, we have issues at the receiver position. Clearly, you're right. Possibly we do probably need maybe a more legit, concrete number one guy in that backfield. It's so many different things. And to me, to be trying to replace Jackson Dart, of all people, that's who we want to replace. Yeah, not all these other scrubs and shit we got on this team. We want to worry about replacing Jackson Dart, not the guy that sells the tickets, that puts asses in the seats every Sunday. Not the only reason people show up to MetLife Stadium to watch this piece of shit football team. We want to replace that guy. Give me a break.
But not the guy that drops passes like Darius Slayton every week. Like, oh, let's keep him around. Well, let's get rid of it when the quarterback's the problem. God, he runs too much. Oh my God, he doesn't like. Give me you're right, Mac. Break. We need breaks here. Give us breaks. What is this shit?
Yeah, like what's going? A couple shout outs to people in the chat, man, that popped in while we were talking this New Year Giant talk, man. Salute to Tudo, man. Happy New Year.
Whoa.
Appreciate you, brother, man. AK, man, what's going on, bro? Happy holidays to you too. Man, Mosley, Louvid. Jay Ferry, what's going on, bro? Good to see you, man. Happy holidays to you, man. Appreciate you. As always, Christy Wilson. How you doing? Happy holidays to you, man. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit that like for the stream, too. We appreciate it. Dart, Scatterboo, and Neighbors could be the Giants version of the what were you saying there? Hold on. Could be the Giants. Could be the Giants version of the triplets, Aikman, Smith, and Irvin in the 90s. Hey, there's always a possibility, man. I wish we could have got to see Scatterboo all season this year. I wish we would have got to soak it in, man, and really appreciate it. I think he was going to be he looked like he was geared to be a touchdown machine, to be quite frank. And I think a lot of people aren't really paying attention to that either, the fact that how many touchdowns he had before he got injured, considering that he didn't really play much the first couple of weeks of the season. So just let that sink in that was how big a loss he actually was.
Well, here's the thing. People don't realize the impact he made on the offense. Now he's gone. People can now focus on Dart. Before, Scatterboo was a legit running threat and a legit threat out of the backfield. So they had to game plan for Scatterboo and let Dart cook. Dart hasn't had the same amount of running lanes as he normally had because people don't care about Tracy. I mean, I like Tracy, but he's like a Shane Vereen. He's a third down back. But Cam Scatterboo has an impact. When people tell you that he's not a number one back, I say I disagree because look at how the offense has changed without him in on the field. The offense has changed dramatically. He hasn't played as well without Scatterboo. That's a fact. All right. People have been able to bottle him up a little bit more because again, the two running backs that they have back there aren't great backs. Sure, Trace will have a long run here and a long run there, but Scatterboo was a smasher. He was breaking tackles. He was setting a tone for this entire offense, and I feel like when they lost him, they lost a lot of their energy and a lot of their vibe to go. And then obviously adjustments were made when he was gone. So
a fair point by Jay put up here right now too, right quick. I would entertain those Dart trades BS if it was Trevor Lawrence, Caleb, generational types, not Mendoza. No way. He might not even be close to as good as Dart. He is a big Cuban Kirk Cousins.
That's what you said, not us. That is kind of funny.
I mean, and that could be the case, though. I mean, it really could just be the truth, man. That's why I'm like, I don't.
But I wouldn't trade him for those guys either.
I respect those. Well, I mean, I probably wouldn't just based off of what I know about Jackson Dart right now and what I've seen. I wouldn't. I just wouldn't. I'm not a gambler. I'm not rolling the dice on a what if when I've seen what Jackson Dart can do, when I know what he can do. So to me, that's my difference with that. Like I said, I'm a guy that you got to prove it to me. You know, it's been a lot of top talents. You know, most of us would have picked Jamarcus Russell number one overall in that draft. Don't act like Al Davis is the only one. He ain't no. I mean, most of us would have picked Jamarcus Russell number one overall in that draft. Right. Look, it would have blew up in all of our faces the same way it blew up in their face. So I mean, it just is what it is. It's nothing truly a guarantee until you get up in here and you show and prove. It doesn't mean a thing. And Jackson Dart has done that, and that's why I just wouldn't. I'm not looking to trade what I know, what a guy that I know can get the job done for a guy that I'm hoping can, but we don't even know if he can even play at this level or not.
Well,
I'm just not with that.
He says generational talents or whatever coming out. I would beg to say that I think that Jackson Dart could be a guy that we look back on and say, oh, wow, he is better than we thought he was, right? Because I look at how he's elevated this team, where he's come from the draft process to now. He's really been a very good quarterback. And even if, let's say, there was a Trevor Lawrence in here, I would still probably roll the dice with Jackson Dart, with what I've seen, and say, you know what? If there is a Trevor Lawrence, which would be better for us if there was. That's why I'm hoping Dante Moore comes out, because the more quarterbacks come out, the higher we are, the more likely we will be able to get trade partners, because they're going to be a quarterback needy team that's going to be like, I need this guy on my team. We need this. Let's make this deal, right? And if there was a generational talent, I'd be even more angry if the Giants won, because then, God forbid, there's going to be somebody there, even if it's a defensive player, that somebody's going to want, and you're going to be able to entice them there, because you don't need a quarterback. And let's just say it's Caleb Downs. Do I want to take Caleb Downs at number 2? No, but maybe the Cardinals do. Maybe somebody else's team does. So, I feel like the Giants need to embrace this and embrace being in this position and having a quarterback for the first time, where you're like, wow, going into 2026, I'm going to feel a lot more optimistic about Jackson Dart, depending on the coaching hire, than I will about Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, you're like, oh, cool. Maybe if he cleans up the stuff, he could maybe be good. And then you saw him and you're like, this guy ain't got nothing. You know what I mean? Jackson Dart has already, to me, shown that he can take coaching. If they get a guy in here like a McCarthy, let's transition that to what's going on in Giant Land.
Well, real quick before we go into the coaches, I just wanted to bring up one more thing about the backfield too, with the Cam Scatterboot thing, and something else about him this season that we didn't get to see a lot of is because of situational with the injuries. Like early in the season, Tom Tracy got hurt earlier in the year. That's kind of what opened the door for Cam Scatterboot to get more of an opportunity. To be honest, like around week 3 or whatever it was, and we never got to see those two really do much together. You know what I mean? Like in a little combination of that power of Scatterboot, the way his physicality, the way he runs, especially near the goal line, in short yardage situation, and then kind of pair that with the big breakaway ability that Tyrone Tracy can have. We never got to see really that kind of get a chance to work either together, because by the time Tracy came back from his injury, Cam Scatterboot ended up getting hurt and being out for the year as well. So that's just another small little thing, because I hear what you're saying about Tracy, and I'm kind of with you right there. He is kind of more that like third down kind of guy, more complimentary. He's just not the guy necessarily to be that your guy, but he can bring something to the table if you got that nice little setup man, which I think Scatterboot could be a good setup man for a guy like Tyrone Tracy.
That's why the guy in the Commanders bill will be a great back when he has a solid number 1 there to kind of wear down the defense. And then you put that kid in there, he can catch the ball in the backfield, he can pick up a blitz, but then he's also got the juice to run. And I think that's where Tracy is. I don't think Tracy's ever going to be a featured back to me, but what I think they need to do is have a guy who is a third down back, like what Tiki Barber did when he first came in, a guy that can return punts, get you a third down on a screen, really add some versatility to the offense when your hammer needs a break, right? Like you look at what the Saints are doing. They found a back in Estime, right? And that guy is clearly a powerful back. Imagine him and Alvin Kamara playing together at some point. I know Kamara's that bit banged up, but you're going to have your 1-2 punch. And I just think the Giants need to be in the market for a running back. If that means in the draft, they need to get one. I think Scatterboot with a home run threat as a back, and then a Tyrone Tracy to kind of come in and run some screens and do some different looks, so to speak. You can isolate him on a linebacker and things like that. I think that's what he needs to have.
By being a former receiver, he's definitely can be dangerous in the passing game for you.
A Dave Megan type. That's a good comparison. Roles, right? Tiki Barber, Larry Centers, a guy that, you don't have to tip the defense off by saying, oh, well, here comes Tracy. They're running a pass play, because he can obviously have some run skills. But to me, I think he's more effective where he's not the bell cow. Especially fumbles a lot. I'm always cringe when I see him get the ball because I'm afraid he's going to play. He's been pretty good this year, but and I don't think he has breakaway speed. I think he's good enough speed. I haven't seen him break an 80-yard run, and I'm like, damn, that guy's blowing by people. But he gets up to his speed nicely, and I just think with the receiving skills, I don't want to put him in the trash. I don't think he's a trash back, but I think if you're going to build out the running back room, I want Cam Scatterboo to be one of the top two backs, and then you can have Tracy do the grunt work. It's 3rd and 18. What's that? Tank Bigsby type shit. Like 3rd down type shit.
I can definitely agree with you on that, bro. But yeah. So the New York Giants. That's pretty much it. The Giants, took care of business. They look good doing it. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. Halfway at the beginning of the game, I was like the way I was, but then I got to the point where I just realized that the Raiders were absolutely shit, and they just weren't gonna get it done. And I did turn back around, revert back to my normal self on game day, and I just said, fuck it, all in, let's go Giants, because clearly we weren't going to lose this football game. It got to a point where it was clear, obvious we weren't going to lose this football game, so there wasn't any point in hoping it was going to happen. Just for the number 1 overall pick, which we would have clinched if we would have lost the game. Just saying, wouldn't matter. Then we could have went out there and actually tried to beat the Cowboys just for personal pride, and it wouldn't have mattered. But here we are. And speaking of games on Sunday, the New York Giants. Oh, you want to talk about the coaching? I'm sorry, Adam. I apologize for that. Let's get to the coaching.
Well, we all know that there's rumors about what's happening in the front office and the possibility of keeping Joe Shane and all this other bull crap that's going on. And from things that I've heard and through media outlets and things like that, is that Joe Shane may not have he may not be what we think he is, right? So he's just there for the ride, essentially. So what does that mean? Well, it means to me that I don't think the Giants are going to be in on too many coaches that don't have head coaching experience, right? And I use that a lot because listen to their wording. They want head coaching experience for their next hire. And that eliminates Shula's, the Kubiaks of the world, and those type of players. However, Hafley does have some college experience, so that allows him to be in there. I did hear rumors that there was a rumor that they already interviewed 3 people silently, right, in their coaching search. Guys who are already unemployed or guys who are Marcus Freeman's of the world who might have been interested in the job and not, right? So if they do this coaching search, I want them to cast a wide net. Don't know somebody out the gate. Let's say you like Mike McCarthy. All right. Well, interview everyone. And if after everyone's interviewed, even Mike McCarthy, you come back to say, I think he's the guy that can lead our franchise, fine. Then so be it. But don't just give the job away you did like they did last time with Brian Daboll. They hired Joe Shane, and we knew Daboll was going to be the guy because he was in Buffalo. He was already a hot candidate. He was already linked to Joe Shane. It was a no-brainer. This time, the reason why I think that they're going to get a veteran coach, and the guy that I like is Cliff Kingsbury. I know a lot of people aren't a huge fan of him, but I think he checks some of the boxes that they're looking for. Just like another guy, Stefanski, who I'll get to in a minute, if he gets cut, check some of the boxes. He's been with teams that have been bad, and he's made them competitive. We're talking about bottom of the barrel teams in Arizona, and he brought in Kyler Murray, and they were competitive, went to a couple playoff appearances. And Kyler Murray has never looked better without Cliff Kingsbury. He's also helped Jaden Daniels develop into the quarterback that he's been. So I think last but not least, he has head coaching experience. So it would be a box that checks everything in the game, right? And I think he's young for me. He's young enough for me where if he does well, he'll have, 10 years on the sideline. I also want him in here because when you're the head coach of a team, you were in on personnel decisions. You were in on the building and construction of a team. So what does that mean? If you're a first-year head coach, you may not have that experience yet. So I don't want that guy to work with Joe Shane, even though Joe Shane, again, like I feel is a figurehead in this. He's not really anything. You're probably going to deal with ownership. I think it's better if you have a guy that's a little bit more established in his career. Another guy that I like, I mentioned, is Stefanski. These are guys that if you're looking at Mike McCarthy, these are guys you should also lump in there and say, all right, well, McCarthy is our fail-safe if Stefanski comes available, which rumor is that if he's available, the Giants might be interested in him. He's a guy that I like. Now, there's reasons why I like him. I like him because I believe that I could get Jim Schwartz with him to come here. But, that's not the end-all, be-all. Somebody enlightened me today to say that you can still get Schwartz with somebody else. It doesn't have to be with Kevin Stefanski, right? It could be, with Cliff Kingsbury. Maybe Kingsbury says, hey, you want to come be, if they're fired, you want to come be my DC, right? Who knows? Maybe you interview Schwartz as the head coach. He does have head coaching experience. So those are a couple of my guys that I'm looking at if they get fired. Obviously, if Tomlin loses and gets and they let him go, he goes to the top of the list. But Hafley's an interesting guy because he has a lot of leadership traits. He was in the military, and he was a commander in the military. I don't want to just say he was in the military. Like he was a officer in the military, so he's commanded, people in the army, groups of people up to a couple hundred people at a time. So some of those traits I like about him, and I do believe he'll be a viable candidate. But I do believe they're going to lean on head coaching experience in the NFL as well, right? And if you got that, like a Stefanski or a Kingsbury or a Vance Joseph type, those type of guys will, I think, if it were between Hafley and Vance Joseph, I would probably lean towards them picking Vance Joseph over that, just because he's been in the head coaches of the NFL and because of what you're going to need that coach to be a part of. And this is why I believe Mike McCarthy is going to be the guy, is because the pushback on personnel. Mike McCarthy, as you know, had a little bit of hand in Green Bay personnel back in the day, right? He was part of, I don't know if he was the GM, but I do know he had a heavy hand in selecting players and things of that ilk, right? So with that being said, with the turmoil that is the Giants front office, with whether or not Joe Schoen is really pulling strings or not, you're going to have to deal with the ownership, whether that's McConnell or Mara. Therefore, that leads me to believe that somebody who's had experience in that kind of role, like, again, a Kingsbury that's already done it in the NFL, that already knows how to do it, might have a little bit of a leg up on a guy like Hafley, who, while he has coaching experience and leadership qualities that we like, they may be a little reluctant. That's them, not me. They, the Giants, may be a little reluctant to say, hey, you know what? I can't risk it this go around. I'd rather risk it with somebody who's already done it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like you said, you named a bunch of good guys, right? Candidates right there. I wait till next week after the season's officially over, get to Black Monday, see who is available, who, and I want to, and I can really start piecing together, some like a little more detailed information about some of these guys. But Hafley is a name that keeps coming up more and more and more. You're actually the guy that put me on to him. Wasn't even overly familiar with him until you really put him to my attention. And now all I do is hear his name more and more. So he's definitely a guy, somebody I'm going to be doing a lot of research on once the season ends, and as he'll be a top candidate, head coaching candidate for probably not just the New York Giants, many coaching vacancies around the league, whatever is going to be available. But my thing with Joe Schoen, this whole Joe Schoen thing with me, I'm just comfortable with him being gone, man. Like, it's that black cloud effect that just no matter it's hanging over the facility, man. As long as he's here, I feel like no matter what the role, nothing good can come of it. I mean, it just, to me, they've all looking more and more like a scapegoat at this point. I mean, they were a package deal. They came together. They should have left together. It's just like you go back years ago when McAdoo got fired mid-season. They fired McAdoo. They fired Jerry Reese all in one shot. I mean, they weren't even a package deal, and they still got rid of both of them at the same time. So I just didn't really. I'm just not understanding what we're holding on to Joe Schoen for. I mean, this guy is a mess. Well, he's a mess. I mean, we drafted a cornerback in the first round at 2023 that right now brings us only value on special teams. Like, literally just like it's it's a mess, man. Enough is enough already, man. Like with this guy. I mean, I just want him away from the team. Period. I just can't take any more of him. I can't look at that stupid little smirk on his face every time I see it. I just want to punch his face. I'm over him, man. We need to move completely away from this guy, man. If we want us to take anybody to take us seriously, because I just can't imagine anybody wanting to come in and work with him.
You know, my theory
at this point.
My theory is this, and from what I've heard in discussions and things like that, from people who might be, I wouldn't say in the know, I don't want to make it too known, but rumor has it that Joe Schoen has no real input anymore, so to speak. And for me, what that means is, let's say they have success with the next guy. He'll get the praise, but he really won't. Right. And if they move on from him or they decide to, he's not done things as a coach, they'll move on from him. Right. However, if he does bad, whomever the coach is, this is their way of scapegoating Joe Schoen. And if Chris Mara and Tim McDonald are really the guys that are in charge, well, look, it's Joe Schoen's players, not mine. And the reason why I say that is because the Giants have a history of scapegoating people, from Pat Shurmur, Tom Coughlin. They scapegoat. That's what they do. They always look for somebody who can take the bullets. And while you're rebuilding in this process, because they said that Joe Schoen will be here towards the draft, right? So what does that mean is he's on borrowed time. And if a coach comes in here, like what they did with the Jaguars hired Liam Cohen, but he's like, I'm not going to come here unless you fire Joe Schoen. They fired their GM and got a new GM. So he might be here, but the coach may not be reporting to him. That's why I keep saying, if this is the dynamic that is happening with ownership, right? And ownership is kind of just using him as a pseudonym GM, right? Like you have the title, but you're not really the GM. Then one, I would believe you should fire him. But if they are just keeping him around, they're keeping him around to scapegoat his ass when the time is right. Right, to be like, oh, well, this is Joe Schoen's fault. He's fired. Let's get a new GM with our new young coach, right? So let's say, for example, next year it goes shitty, right? And everything goes south. Guess who gets fired? The coach probably doesn't get fired unless it's like an Aaron Glenn or a Steve Wilkes situation where it's a complete dumpster fire. But if the Giants are bad and you think there's some problems with the coach, but, the players are fucking stinky, like – Okarake's still here. He's not producing. Deontay Banks is not producing. Like, then it becomes, okay, well, we changed the coaching and your players still suck. We're getting rid of you now, right? And that's what I do believe is going to happen, is that they're going to keep Joe Schoen around, and then when the time is right, they're going to fire him. Whether that is before they get a new coach and the new coach says, I want this guy gone, or if the season gets away from them and they end up have another losing season and end up in the top 10 of the draft, let's say 9 or 10 or something like that. And they're like, ugh, they'll probably move. Do we really want this guy again? Evan Neal's been on the bench. We couldn't get the best out of him. We changed the coaching staff. The quarterback's good, but, the rest of the team, we lost games because our starters are good, but our talent is bad, right? Our depth talent is bad. That falls on him for not being able to build out a receiving core that's good. So I think they're using him. Long story short, I know I'm long-winded. I do apologize, folks. I just think he's going to be the scapegoat. And that's why they're going to keep him around here, which is not a great reason to keep him around anyways. But that's just what I feel. If you're not going to give him any power, he's just here so that the NFL says, oh, it's GM Joe Schoen. So if things go well, right, they hire a great coach, he's going to get the praise, but let's be honest, he's not making the decisions, right? He's just there. But if it goes badly, they have someone to go, oh, we're going to get rid of this guy, right? We obviously can't get rid of the coach who we just hired and who has history in the NFL. No, but we can get rid of the fucking dumb GM who's failed.
Interesting. We'll see. I just really just don't want to have anything to do with anything, man. But we'll see how this all plays out, the Joe Schoen saga.
But I'm trying to emphasize the thing is he may not. I'm only accepting of this if the rumors are that he is not going to have a hand in really anything. Like, he's not hiring the coach. He might make a list of guys he wants to hire or add to the list or get some intel, but he's not going to be the guy signing the checks. He's not going to be the guy that the coach necessarily deals with. He just might be there. So what I'm trying to figure out is, if that's the case, then if I can't get let's just use the name Halfley, or because if I'm Halfley, why am I going to come here if that's my GM? Right? Why do I need to have him and inherit him as my GM? And if I say to the Giants, you know what, fuck it, I want your job, but I don't want Joe Shane. I want the Giants to be able to, like, sure, fuck it, he's gone, right? And do something like that. So I think there is a possibility that he is still not safe, depending on what happens in the next coming weeks. He may be safe for now, or safe till the draft, or safe until they get the new hire in. But to me, again, this is why I keep leaning and telling you guys, think of coaches that might have some coaching experience around the NFL that might get another chance. I'm not saying I want Arthur Smith, but that's a guy we would think about. I'm not saying Jim Nagy, but that's another guy who's had some head coaching experience.
I want no parts of him. No parts of that guy.
But all I'm saying is, like,
I know what you mean. I know what you're saying. I understand what you're saying.
The reason why McCarthy works, he's dealt with crazy ownership in Dallas. He'll know right what to do. You know what I mean? He won't need to have to worry about growing pains and setting up the office for, like, the things that we take for granted, right? That may not go well for a rookie head coach out the gate. And that's why I keep emphasizing that if Stefanski comes here, I would not be surprised if he gets fired. He might not. Maybe Cleveland keeps him. But if he got fired, he'd be on top of the list. Tomlin gets let go, Harbaugh, those guys would be on the top of the list. And those guys should be the top of the list, right? I don't want to hear, oh, there's John Harbaugh, but we're hiring fucking Mike Shula. Like, give me a break. I don't, like, as much as I like Shula and his background and the things that he possibly could bring to the table, those guys have done it at this level in that position.
Those guys have Lombardis as head coaches. True championship pedigree. But
as does McCarthy, which people forget.
Absolutely. No, yeah, he won that. He won one in Green Bay. But let's talk about Sunday afternoon. Giants hosting the Dallas Cowboys, rematch of Week 2, which was an epic game in which the New York Giants was the first of many that the New York Giants would squander in the last minute of a football game against the Dallas Cowboys, losing that one in overtime in Week 2. So here we are in New York in MetLife for the rematch, man, to close the season out. Last game of the season for both teams, as neither one of them will be playing in the postseason. What do you think, man? How do you see this one playing out, man? You think Dallas is going to give it everything?
I think Dallas is going to do it. And my reasons are, Jerry Jones, I don't think, wants to lie down to the Giants. He hates the Giants with a passion. He doesn't want to lose. And if I'm Brian Schottenheimer, why do I want that blemish of being 7-9 on my record? Why don't I get an 8-8 record? I want to be a 500 coach. Not many coaches get that in their first year, to be 500, and you have a chance to do that. Why am I then going to tell Jerry Jones, let me sit down because I want to fucking screw the Giants out of a draft pick? Who cares? If Joe Shane's in the office, I'm like, good riddance. He hasn't drafted that well anyways. Why am I worried about the fucking Giants and what pick they get, right? I'm the Cowboys. I want to win. I want to beat them. I want to have a good division record. I want to embarrass the Giants on their way out. That's just me. Now, what they will do, from what is being gathered and aggregated, they're going to play their starters. I think they're going to play their starters until either the games will blow out on either end. Like, the Giants are losing, or, like if they get up 21-3, they're going to pull Dak Prescott, with 2 quarters to go in the game, right? I just believe that. I don't believe you should. I think it's stupid. These guys sign up for 17 games. Half of them can't even make it through 17 games, and you want to pull them for what? What are you resting them for? Next offseason? Like, give me a break. So, with that being said, I think the Cowboys are going to want to embarrass the Giants, and that's just me.
I mean, I see where you're going with that. I mean, I just, like I said, I don't expect them to come in and lay down. Like you said, divisional matchup. Why not? Why wouldn't you want to get to 500 on the season? And like you said, just This is a team you hate. It's not like you're playing against some just playing against the Raiders or whatever. And it's like fuck it, I don't care. But like you said, it's just a personal pride thing when you're going against them. That's why I do like the way the league has done this over the last several years, making the last games of Week 18 get matchups, all divisional matchups. It just puts a little extra something on it. You know what I mean? Especially if you pair them up just perfectly and get those games like you're going to get in the NFC South, for instance, on Sunday. A game, on Saturday. Saturday they play Saturday actually. A game for the division right there. Carolina, Tampa Bay, man. Who saw it coming? Didn't necessarily see it coming down to that. But here we are. I mean, this is all winner take all. Same with the AFC North right there. Baltimore and Pittsburgh playing for the division on Sunday.
And what about the Denver game? Isn't Denver Chargers? Is that for number 1 seed?
Let me check that one out. Let's see. Denver and the Chargers. Nah. Denver's got it on lock already. Denver's already won the division. Denver's won the division already, and I think they're just fighting off the New England for number 1 seed still. They're still trying to fight off. So Denver needs to win to maintain number 1 seed. For sure, to lock down number 1 seed, they just need to win. And but that's about it. That's not it. Chargers can't really do anything different. Right. They just got their wild card spot. But yeah. So it's. But I don't know. I just think with the Giants coming into this one, at some point, one does probably take over. I mean, the fact that here's the reality: the New York Giants have only won 1 divisional game in the last 2 years. 1 in the last 2 seasons. So you're talking about at this point right now, 1 in 11 or 1? I mean, well, excuse me, 1 in 10 technically right now is playing the game. So in the last 2 seasons, and against your own division or whatever it is, that's just not. That's not cool. It's not cool no matter how you slice it, and it absolutely stinks. And if you can't get fired up for this one on Sunday as a New York Giant, then there's nothing else you can get fired up for, because you should just want to make it a point to go out there and take it to a divisional rival win and at least get another divisional win under your belt, because it's been an embarrassment amongst your own division. The fact that's one of the biggest parts of your problems too, is you can't even get it done against your own division. I mean, and that's just a problem right there. I mean, that's half of your schedule practically every season. You have to be able to find ways to win these football games. And the New York Giants have not been able to do that. And I think Jackson Dart will be able to go out there and really do some things against this defense, this Cowboys defense, without Trayvon Diggs now, who they, as we know, was released a couple of days ago. And I think I can see them making some noise, man. Theo Johnson probably back for this one. He was out only because he was sick last week, not because he had any kind of actual injury. So I can see the Giants actually. I don't want to say it though. I don't want to pick my mouth to say they're going to win a football game, because it's, like I said, it's just doesn't. It's not right. I can't really say that, even though they coming off a big win against the Raiders, an impressive win against the Raiders. This Cowboy team is far, far superior to that Las Vegas Raider team they played on Sunday. So I think the Cowboys still get it done, because I think they have too much offensive firepower. I think they run the ball extraordinarily well, way better than I think. That's one of the things with the Cowboys this season. A lot of people didn't think that run game was going to be as impressive as it was, with a 1,000-yard back in Javonte Williams, and with this young guy from last week, Malik Davis or whatever, that really showed something as well. And the New York Giants' issues with stopping the run, as we all know. I mean, no secret, New York Giants cannot stop the run. I think that's what's going to be the difference in this football game. I think the Cowboys end up taking it to the Giants, man, and sinking the Giants' record to 1-11 over the last 2 years in the division.
Well, I don't know how breaking this is, but Ian Rappaport says that Trayvon Diggs is joining the Packers. So,
wow, that was fast.
This is via Twitter. So, if you're on Twitter, he just broke the story about an hour ago. So, giving it to you here on Premium Take. NFL roundup. So Trayvon Diggs is joining the Packers, according to Ian Rappaport on Twitter.
And now Trayvon Diggs gets to play in the postseason. What do you know?
He
you
joins his
go from
fellow
your season
Cowboy.
about to be over to now you get to play in the postseason.
Right.
Just like that.
There you go. You go from one shitty situation to you probably had Micah Parsons help you on that one. Hey man, come to Green Bay. We need you. So he'll have some time to assimilate with the Green Bay Packers. Obviously probably won't play this week. This week with the Packers, but if this well, it's from Ian Rappaport, so it's probably true. Whenever he touches down there, and let's be honest, these guys have money. If I'm Trayvon Diggs, I'm on the next flight out to Green Bay to get. You are in technically Wednesday, so maybe you get some practice in Thursday. Who knows? Maybe you dress Sunday. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but I doubt he will. They're probably just going to get him in there. I don't know if it's a waiver claim. I don't know what's it going to be. Because he was essentially, I do believe when he was cut yesterday, he had to go through waivers. So the Packers could have put in a waiver claim for him, and because they wanted him, and nobody else did because they thought they were going to wait till free agency, and they could have got him in a waiver. So we'll see what more details come out. But he's a Packer
now. Oh, there it is, and got one more game to talk about. Obviously, a game that when the schedule makers dropped the schedule back in May, thought this game was going to have so much more meaning than what it actually does. But then here the season started, and the Commanders just aren't very good. And here we are, the Eagles hosting the Washington Commanders in a game in which the Eagles can still move up to number 2 seed here. So a victory could still be important for the Eagles. What's your thoughts on this one?
Well, they've already pretty much said that they're not playing, but I understand why. If they're only falling to the 3rd seed, they didn't get their first round bye, and the second pick doesn't get a first round bye either. So it's not really changing the trajectory. They still have they still have a decent record, and so unless they face a team like maybe Seattle, it's not gonna really matter. I don't think for the Eagles. So, and who knows? Maybe they end up winning anyways against Washington, who will probably be playing the role of spoiler to get a win under their belt and try to finish the season strong. But I'm going to still pick. Well, you know what? I'm going to go on a limb here, and I'm just going to pick Washington. I don't think Philadelphia cares about the result. I really don't. If they did, I think they wouldn't have benched Jalen Hurst this week. I understand it, but they've already basically said that he's not going to play. And I just think Dan Quinn's going to try to take advantage of this and try to get a win against the NFC East and say, hey, look, I beat the defending champs. Whether we believe it or not, that will look good for him again. And I just think they need a victory in the worst way, Washington, to kind of just have something to chew on the offseason. Say, hey, at least we won our last game against the Eagles. Whew, and go into the offseason on a high note, right? So, and I know people are saying, well, why are the Giants doing that? The Giants are a dumpster fire, okay? They have no coach right now on the roster that we deem good. Dan Quinn is not being fired. At least I don't believe he's being fired. I don't know if you believe he's being fired, Mac, but I don't think he's getting fired. So what does that mean? If he wins this game, it just, is a good morale boost at the end, going in and saying, hey, we won our last game. And, going into next season, they'll figure out what they need to figure out. But that's just me. I'm going to go on the limb and say Washington tries to finish on a strong note.
And I agree with you, man. With the Eagles pretty much tapping out already. I mean, my only thing with them not playing is, like I said, the difference between 2 and 3 is a matchup thing. And I mean, would they rather play? Like I said, at the 2 seed, you're going to be playing Green Bay, who is pretty much locked in at the 7th seed, or the 3 seed where you had or potentially like the Bears or the Rams. Maybe. I mean, it obviously is a big difference there. But it's I don't know. It's just that's what all it really comes down to is like you said. That's the only real difference is literally just that matchup thing, man. Between that, like, what do you pick your poison? What do you prefer? Who you want to see? I guess you could throw the 49ers in the mix as well. I guess they could all kind of finish with the same record, technically, depending on how things bounce on Sunday this weekend, between the Bears, the Rams, and the Niners. I'm not sure how that would all shape up in the seeding if that all would happen, if they all finish with the exact same record right now, the Bears sitting at the number 2 seed right now in the NFC though. But that's sort of really the only difference. So it's really potato, you know what I mean? Just get ready for whoever you got to get ready for. Either way, you know you're not falling, like you said, any further than the 3 seed as the NFC South winner is penciled in at the 4 seed, whichever one that's going to be between Carolina and the Bucks. So I do like Washington here for that reason. That I think they're just going to go out there. They're going to play really tough. The Eagles clearly be sitting guys. They won't be getting the Eagles' best shot. And I just think that's just what this is going to be down to the Washington starters against a lot of Washington starters against a lot of Philadelphia backups. And I think the Washington starters will ultimately get the job done here. And I think, like you said, Dan Quinn, it's just a personal thing of pride with a coach like Dan Quinn. Like you said, he's not going anywhere. He's definitely this was the old Washington, the Dan Snyder Washington Commanders. Then okay, yeah, maybe Dan Quinn would be in trouble here, but nah, this is a more competent ownership group now, and Dan Quinn's job is more than safe. I think anybody with eyes can see that he had a lot going against him this season. And a lot of things that were just out of his control, man. I think he still had that team pretty much, ready to play each and every week, and their best just wasn't really good enough most weeks. So it just is what it is. But I think it will be this week. I think they do get the job done against the Philadelphia Eagles. But before we get ready to wrap things up for this week, man, I just wanted to touch on something else. Just Eli Manning, bro. I got to bring it up, man. He has moved on. He's a finalist now, Hall of Fame finalist. Once again, as he was, he got to that stage a season ago as well. And he came up short this year. A couple of first ballot guys in there that I think are pretty much, slam dunks that'll take up a couple of those spots. I mean, like I said, Larry Fitzgerald, I don't think there's no debate that he's going to be selected as a Hall of Famer. I think Drew Brees the same thing. There's no avoiding that. And listen to my guys, the goofballs earlier, man, and they were also made me think about maybe Frank Gore could be almost a surefire guy too, man. That's 3 spots right there already. If that's the case, you know what I mean? It's from the modern era, you're only going to get about 5 guys from the modern era, and then maybe a few of the older guys, legends and like contributors and stuff. So pretty much your class ain't gonna be no bigger than maybe about 8 people at the most. So what's your thoughts on maybe Eli potentially? I don't know if you have thoughts on Eli potentially, getting there. I know how you feel about him being in the Hall of Fame. I think we both feel the same way about that. He definitely deserves it. Whether people try to, shit on what his accomplishments and things that he did, I think some of the things he did was invaluable, man, and people just kind of try to gloss over it. You're looking too much at some of the just I don't know how to say it, but you're not looking at all the right things. You look at a Hall of Famer, you look at a guy that made a difference on a franchise, man. Eli Manning, he made a difference on the New York Giants franchise for his entire career. And yes, the 2 titles put him over the top, but it was so much more things he accomplished, man, that people just gloss over, man. There's not many quarterbacks in the clutch situation, in the clutch moments of football games that you want that ball in their hands more than Eli Manning. I mean, whether you want to admit it or not, it's just facts, people. You go back and look at the tape and look at the things he always was able to accomplish with some of the most pressure on him, man. What he was able to do in the brightest lights, what he was able to do when it mattered the most. 2 Super Bowl fourth quarter comebacks, 2 Super Bowl game-winning drives led by Eli Manning on the largest stage, and one of them against arguably the best team ever. Come on, man. How much more do we need, man? Eli Manning needs to be in the Hall. I hope they get it right, and I hope he doesn't have to wait too long, man. But I didn't give you got any thoughts, Adam?
Well, I think he deserves it. I do. I think a lot of people put his record as his fault. But I look at the overall character of a guy. There are shitty athletes in the Hall of Fame right now. Shitty men in the Hall of Fame. I can go down the list with people who have been in jail, done something wrong, had some transgression. This guy was squeaky clean. He basically brought a franchise on his back. Okay, a franchise that had no direction, that was rudderless. He brought prominence back to it, respectability, so much so that we're taking for granted an Iron Man streak that probably never happened again. Okay, in the history of the NFL, because all these quarterbacks get injured every other week. There's somebody new. I'm learning somebody else's name every other week on somebody's team because somebody can't play for this hamstring or this blown out knee or whatever the fuck. So the fact that he played every game and never missed one that he could start, that he was able to start, that he was the starter in, right? I think they did him dirty in 2017 or 20, whatever that was. I think they did him dirty. I do. And they should have just let him roll it out, which they did eventually, but they broke the streak. And they never, it's like the Undertaker losing, never should have happened, right? It should have been one of those things that we're talking about. And guess what? That's probably what is sealing his non-Hall of Fame fate, is because had he played that season and he played the 2018 season, you know, and even starting 2019, we actually had a valuable quarterback, it would have made sense then. But it didn't make sense at that moment. Even though it did make sense, you did it the wrong way. And you put him back in the lineup and fucked everything up. You should just let it roll, right? If you're going to do that. It was the end of the year anyways in a lost season. The guy has pride. He wanted to do that. He's the only quarterback in my lifetime that I knew we had a puncher's chance in every game. No matter who we played, we had a chance in every football game. He's a guy that I got excited on Sunday Night Football because we weren't going to get embarrassed when we had Eli Manning under center. You knew that there was going to be something big happening that game. The comebacks that he had against the Eagles in 05 when he throws the Burris game winner. Okay? The winning drive against the Cowboys in his opening season, right? A game that I went to, the Denver Bronco game where he found Amani Toomer in the back of the end zone in 2005. You know, like, these are what we're talking about. You know, driving down the field, you know, in let's look at the 07 season, right? Because he was much maligned, threw the most interceptions, but when the game was on the line and the money mattered in Tampa Bay, he walked down Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay. He went to Dallas 3 times, walked Dallas down in Dallas. Okay? He went into Green Bay with a Hall of Fame quarterback in sub-zero freezing temperatures and play one of the best games you'll ever see in Lambeau Field history. Okay? Then, what does he do? He goes to the Super Bowl in 07 against a team that is arguably the best, that Max said, in the world at that time. We have never seen a team do what they've done since then, and we probably never will see a team do it again. You can, you know, no shade to the Miami Dolphins, but I do believe 17-0 is a lot better than 14-0 in a different era of football. Okay? He has literally walked down in 2 minutes, made one of the most outstanding plays in Super Bowl history, and then did that in clutch moments. If you go and listen to that radio broadcast, what do they say? This is what every quarterback lives for, a chance to go down and win the Super Bowl. Well, now, not only did he do it once, but then he had an MVP-like season in 2011 where he was the only quarterback who got snubbed for the MVP voting. He literally carried that team with the worst offensive line in football, one of the worst running back rooms in the world, a defense that couldn't stop a nosebleed at that time. He took them and walked them down. And then what did he do in the game? Let me refresh your memory. He walked down the Atlanta Falcons, who nobody gave us a chance to beat. Then he goes back into Green Bay and beats Aaron Rodgers, and they were 15-1. Okay? 15-1. And he goes down there and it outplays the future Hall of Famer, Aaron Rodgers, who, by the way, is still playing and has not been to a Super Bowl or the playoffs in that capacity ever since. Okay? Hasn't really done much since then. Right? They were defending champions at that point. They got their ass stomped. Then what does he do? Oh, what does he do? Where does he go next? Where does he go? Well, yes. I'll tell you where he goes. He goes and becomes a legend in San Francisco, pulling dirt from his helmet. Pulling dirt from his helmet, making plays to Mario Manningham in the back of the end zone, throwing a dot to him to tie the game up. Right? Being able to hit Victor Cruz for a big play to get into overtime, to get into field goal range. And yes, the defense did help. and you need a defense to complement you. But it wasn't the defense that was pulling himself off the turf. It wasn't the defense that made themselves a legend that day. It was Eli Manning. And if you didn't like Eli Manning then, you liked him that day. That day, he showed you something. He showed you that he was that gamer. And then what does he do? He goes into the Super Bowl again with this cast of characters. And he has one of the most beautiful throws you will ever see a quarterback make in the history of the NFL. Not just a game, the history of the NFL. Nobody could put it better. You can't tell me Elway, Marino, nobody in the history of the game have I ever seen make a dot shot like that. And when we're talking about mere centimeters. We're talking about mere centimeters away from that ball being out of bounds in a throw that he needed to make in a money moment. Turn the whole momentum around that throw. And then he walks him down and wins his second championship. And oh, by the way, let me add this little cherry on top. He's one of only like 6 players to ever win dual MVPs in the Super Bowl. Okay? Dual MVPs. You can count on one, you can count less than 10. I think it's 6 guys. I think it was him. I think it's Brady, and I think it's Montana.
Brady, Bradshaw, Montana, Bart Starr. And I think that might be it.
So maybe that might be it. One hand, all right? Maybe less than 6, all right? We're talking about rarefied air. Ben Roethlisberger's been to 2. He's only won 1 MVP. 1 MVP for Aaron Rodgers, 1 for Drew Brees. This guy has 2. Even Peyton Manning, the great Peyton Manning, only has 1. Yet Eli Manning has 2. And you could argue whether or not it should go to the defense or whatnot. Yes, in the money moments, you got to have it. He had it. And how do we build our careers out? We're talking about guys in this league who have done great shit. But what do? We move the goalposts. Oh, well, they need to win the championship. They need to win a championship. This guy's won 2 MVPs against arguably the biggest dynasty we've seen in the NFL in the last decade. And you want to not put him in the Hall of Fame because his record is 500?
It's ridiculous. He has literally 2 of the most iconic. If you look up iconic throws in the Super Bowl history, Eli Manning has 2 of them. 2 of the most iconic throws. The one you just mentioned, the Manningham, and then the almighty helmet catch, in which the New England Patriot defense had Eli Manning dead to rights on that play, and Eli Manning in the Super Bowl pulled away, shrugged away from that pressure, and gathered himself and yes, he flung that thing down the middle of the field. And as unconventional as that was, he took a chance. It's a Super Bowl. Why not? You take a chance. Super Bowl, go for it. And he did it, and it paid off. And whether people want to say he got lucky, he closed his eyes and threw the football, I don't want to hear that shit, because if it's Tom Brady making that same exact play, all we're talking about is how great and almighty Tom Brady is. If it was his big brother making that exact same play, we're just talking about the greatness of Peyton Manning. But Eli Manning makes that play. Oh, he just closed his eyes and got lucky. Like, the fuck is that, man? It's like you just said, moving the goalpost. I've had this argument with people over the years. In San Francisco, that championship game in 2011 in San Francisco, do you know how many quarterbacks would not have survived that game if they took the beating that Eli Manning took in that game? He just kept getting back up and throwing darts. San Fran, Alden Smith, and who was the other guy? Smith, the other guy they used to have on that
Alden Smith.
Yeah, Justin Smith, Alden Smith, getting after Eli in that game. Absolutely getting after Eli in that game. I was at a point in that game a little concerned for his health, the beating he was taking, but he kept getting back up and he just kept making throws, man. You just, things like that, like I said, that Iron Man streak, like you said, man, we may never see that again, because it's just, that's just not what it is. These guys go down for a damn hangnail now. We can't play. That's just where we're at now, it seems like. Jackson Dart has already missed more games in his career than Eli Manning did. Put that into perspective. Let that shit sink in. And that's all I got to say about it for right now. We won't know for a few weeks until they announce the finalists. Well, it'll be more than a few weeks. It's gonna be until like right before the Super Bowl. Uh,
About
so
a month time.
so we'll find out when we find out, man. But hopefully Eli gets what he deserves, and that's to be in Canton, Ohio, immortalized because he is a Hall of Famer, and you cannot write the book of the NFL without the great Eli Manning, man. He just does not get the credit he deserves, and it's just unfortunate that's the way it has to be because for whatever reason we rather the guys that wanted to bring all the attention to themselves and all the little fancy little celebrations and whatnot. But Mr. No Emotion, Mr. Eli Manning, Mr. No Emotion, we just want to we want to disregard everything he ever did. Call it luck, call it whatever, like it's a joke to me. Why can't he just be great like all the other guys that do these things are great? I don't understand.
He's the only athlete that gets penalized for like winning championships. Like I've never
Yeah.
seen an athlete that's been an MVP in the outside of maybe LeBron James, but LeBron James is only like really compared to Michael Jordan. Nobody else cares about LeBron James. But Eli Manning up there in the pantheon of history has done something that most quarterbacks haven't. How many quarterbacks in the last era have repeated? Not many. I mean, Brady. This is the first playoffs in a decade where we're not going to have a Brady, Mahomes, or a Manning in there in the last 10 years, right? So we can't sit here and say that it means nothing. It means something, okay? And he's did it in an era where I believe the era was harder to win in than it is now, okay? Especially with the parity that is in the NFL, that you can go from worst to first any moment, okay? So the fact that he did it and he did it against the GOAT. I mean, we're still talking about Nick Foles beating the GOAT. You know what I'm saying? We're going to be talking about Jalen Hurts beating Patrick Mahomes. Like
Exactly.
whether or not Jalen Hurts is ever going to be in the Hall of Fame, I don't know. But if he does, I guarantee you they're going to be like, well, look what he did in the first Super Bowl. Look what he did in this Super Bowl, right? We praise Jalen Hurts Super Bowls that he played in 2 good games, but Eli Manning had more iconic plays and more iconic moments and won 2 MVPs. But we're like, he's Eli Manning. And this is what I say about it all the time. If you don't like somebody or you don't care for them for whatever reason, it's hard for you to wrap your head around whenever they do something good. Whenever they do something good. I've had it happen in my own life. I've seen it happen across the board. It doesn't matter what that person does. It's Eli Manning. It can't possibly be true. It's Eli Manning. If I had told you Eli Manning got 2 Super Bowl MVPs, and you looked at it and you were like, are you serious? Are you sure? Are you sure you're not talking about Peyton Manning? No, I'm talking about Eli. And I think a lot of him being in New York and not having the attributes that Jackson Dart has in terms of being swagger and all this have hurt him across the board. And the national media hasn't done anything to help him. But those that know the game understand the impact that he had, not only on the Giants, but on the NFL and what he's done. And the Hall of Fame always pontificates that they want the character of a guy. You couldn't get a better character in there than Eli Manning. There's even blemishes on Peyton Manning going back to him flashing some student, some trainer, some female trainer, right? You have nothing on Eli Manning, not a thing. Okay, you want to talk about character? You want to talk about an ambassador for the game? You want to talk about a guy that's done right by every calculation, every measure? Is that not a Hall of Famer? Winning Walter Payton Man of the Year? All right, he won Walter Payton Man of the Year with Larry Fitzgerald. Yet he has 2 Super Bowl MVPs, and Larry Fitzgerald's going to be a walk-in Hall of Famer, and he has not won a championship in his life. Okay, you don't just get those awards and give them out to guys that are bums. Those are guys that are exemplify what you want. And where do they put those Walter Payton Man of the Year awards? Guess what? In the Hall of Fame. Those are where they go. They probably have a plaque in there to tell you every year who's won. Okay. And so for me, whether or not he gets in, Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer in my eyes. And you can argue with your mama. Okay.
Exactly how I feel about it, Adam. Exactly how I feel about it. Everybody, that's going to do it for this edition of the Real Deal NFC East Roundup. We appreciate everybody that came into the chat and hung out with us. We want everybody to, be safe, make good decisions tonight. Don't do anything too crazy. Be safe, enjoy time with your loved ones, man, and just bring in 2026 the right way, man. So happy New Year to everybody. Happy holidays and enjoy, man. I am Mac the Giants fan. This is my guy, Adam Costas, the super dope co-host, man. Make sure you go to his channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the like for the stream over there. Go to my channel and do the same thing. Hit that subscribe button, the like for the stream, and go to the Hardcore Sports Network and do the same as well. Really appreciate it, man. We'll be back in 2026 with definitely much more from the Real Deal NFC East roundup. We got one more regular season episode next week, and then we be doing some playoff work, talking a lot about the Eagles, unfortunately. But that's where we are, man. That's where it is with the show right now. The Eagles are the only team giving us something to talk about right now. But definitely coming with the off-season content as well. It's going to be a lot to dig into, coaching search, potential GM search, hopefully, and lots of things, free agency, draft. So it's gonna be an interesting off season. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, like I said, and enjoy the new year. Happy New Year, everybody. Be safe, be smart, and just see y'all next year, man. It's y'all boy Mac the Giants fan.
Happy New Year.
I'd like to thank you all for listening. If you was feeling this, please take time to subscribe and smack them likes. Feel free to drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to ring that bell so you know when I'm dropping new content. It's your boy, Mac the Giants fan. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at Mac the Giants fan. That's MacDa Giants fan.